When I was first thinking about the idea for this video, I was honestly hesitant to make it because I didn't know how useful this video might be to anyone that's not me. But as I started writing, I realized that this video is ultimately a video about home. What home feels like, what makes a place home, and what it feels like to leave home. And I hope that when people listen to this, images of their own homes pop into their minds. It's just that my home is a small plot of land an hour north of Edmonton in rural Alberta called the Westlock Meditation Center. I've been coming here every summer since I was 11 years old for their annual Buddhist youth retreats, and I normally spend 3 or 4 weeks at a time here, staying back past the youth retreat for the adult retreat too. But it's been 3 years since I was last at Westlock because of a certain worldwide pandemic, but this summer, I finally found my way back home. To be honest, the first night that I arrived back at Westlock, part of me felt disappointed. In the 3 years that I'd been gone, I'd often thought about this place and the friends I have here that I love so much. With so much else in my life changing, I never realized that I'd been holding onto these memories of Westlock as a beacon of consistency in my life. But that first night, when I walked around with one of my best friends, I noticed that just like me, it had changed a lot in the last 3 years. Rock piles that I'd spent one summer carefully placing down with friends were gone, and new teenagers were screaming and running amok. But my worries that first night quickly subsided as I was woken up by a homie at nearly 6 in the morning to catch up. Westlock not only lived up to my expectations, but it reminded me of something I'd forgotten about for so long: belonging. I'm not shy about the fact that the first year of college was hard for me. It took so much mental adjustment and effort to figure out where I belonged, who my friends were, and how I could be myself when I was constantly around others. But being back here with these people, some I've known half of my life, others I've known for 5 or 6 years, it was so easy to just be myself. And I think that's what it means to feel like you belong somewhere. At Stanford, I'm constantly meeting new people, and I have to figure out who they are at the same time they're trying to figure out who I am. And it's this weird game where everyone is trying to be likable and put their best foot forward, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you get an authentic look into who a person is. Here, there was no need for an explanation for who I was or why I am the way I am. All of the phases of my life where I'd struggled and grown, my friends had either been there for them or had heard about it from me years ago. People are unapologetically themselves here, and there is nowhere else in the world that I feel more comfortable being myself. I'd forgotten what it was like to be so carefree and happy, surrounded by the people I love. But more than just being happy, being at Westlock also makes me feel like I've got one foot in the past. For me, coming back to Westlock after 3 years of growth and experience, it's hard not to compare myself to who I used to be, and it's hard to be anywhere without remembering the memories that each place holds. Sleeping in the Buddha Hall during total relaxation, playing werewolf in our tents at night next to the volleyball courts, waking up with a bunch of friends to catch the sunrise on the little ledge next to the new meditation hall. Coming back here always makes me hyper aware of how much time has passed and how much distance is now between me and those precious memories. It makes me proud of how far I've come and grown, and grateful for all the good times that have happened, but also sad because I know they'll never happen again. Never in the same way, in the same moment, or with the same people. But that's part of what makes home home, having some history or past there. And more often than not, that history is closely tied with the people you have in your life. Looking back, I think that there were a bunch of different factors that played into what allowed me to connect so deeply with the people here. We didn't have Wi-Fi, we couldn't really leave the meditation center, and we spent all day together. We had no distractions or social media, only each other. That's tough to recreate now because there's always something else we could be doing, especially at college. Every minute of pause or moment of boredom is a chance to go do something else or find someone else to hang out with. So in hindsight, it's almost unbelievable that so many of us decided to come back every year and leave behind our lives for 2 or 3 weeks just to be with each other. I guess that is the most important thing for building these connections with others, to unplug and really just be with the people that you're with. Something we talked a lot about during retreat this year was unconditional love, wanting someone else's happiness without wanting anything for yourself. A monk I've known since I was 11 and is now an older brother to me, shout out to Deathblade, wrote my college recommendation letter for me. And Tiffany, my literal non-blood related sister, cried for me when I got into Stanford. I've received nothing but unending support from these people. If you want to find home, find the people who will love you like that. People who you can share your wins and losses with. And honestly, I think that's a lot easier said than done. I feel like everyone is out just doing their own thing. But then when you accomplish something big, who do you get to share those victories with? Sometimes that makes it feel like life is a single player game and not a co-op. I've loved sharing my life with these people. A lot of what I want in friendships now was modeled after the types of friendships I've had here. Honestly, the term friend doesn't even begin to describe how I feel about these people. These people are family. I have brothers and sisters here in the least culty or religious way possible. I think at this point, it's a cliche when people say home is people and not a place. But the history I have with Westlock goes deeper than just the people here. It's Westlock that gave us a place that we could meet and grow up alongside each other. A place that is occupied by you and the people you love becomes something else entirely to you. Like the setting itself becomes a person for you to love and share moments with. Something that has always been unique to me for the last 10 years is that I truly feel like I've grown up with this place. Every year I've come back, I've grown, but so has Westlock. Westlock, for as long as I can remember, has been under construction, and I don't know if it will ever not be. I remember when the Wangam statues were just a green field that we played games in. I remember when we all slept in the trailers and not one giant man or woman cave. And I remember when the new meditation hall didn't exist and the man cave was the meditation hall. I'm attached to the landscape of this place. I've spent hours meditating at the gazebo by the lake or walking around for walking meditation. Day to day, it's hard to feel like I've changed that much, but remembering all of the things at Westlock that just aren't there anymore serves as a physical reminder of how much I've changed. And becoming attached to a place is more than just spending time there. It's taking the time to appreciate and truly be in the place that you're at. And this is the place in my life I've always been the most present and aware. But I think the most important thing that makes something home is that it shapes you. In addition to the people in the physical space, my experience at Westlock has shaped me into who I am. I grew up in white suburban Ohio, but I've always unashamedly loved anime and League of Legends, despite no one else around me really understanding and even people making jokes about it. But part of the reason I never felt alone or ashamed was because all of my friends here also enjoyed both of those things. I'd always be gaming with them or talking about our favorite anime. My brother and I were introduced to Settlers of Catan here, and while I've definitely outgrown Catan, it undoubtedly served as our gateway board game into the board game buying rabbit hole. Then, most importantly, is the practice of meditation and mindfulness that I've absorbed over the last 10 years here through a lot of Dharma talks and mindfulness workshops. Mindfulness, meditation, compassion, and filial piety are forever etched into my brain. I still meditate 15 minutes every morning when I wake up, and it's a habit that began here. I ascribe a lot of my own self-awareness and moments of true peace I've found to the teachings that I've learned at Westlock. There is a direct link between so much of who I am to moments I've had at Westlock, so I carry Westlock with me wherever I go. Now comes the goodbye that I have to make every year that I return to Westlock. I've been seeing a lot of TikToks recently about friend groups hanging out for the last time before they start leaving for college, and honestly, that's exactly how I feel every year I leave here. The future is exciting and there's so much to do, but there's also so much I'm leaving behind. But I truly think that there comes a time when you start outgrowing home, and that doesn't mean that you will never come back or you love this place any less. It means that there's only so much more you can learn here. Like leaving your hometown for college in a different city, there's a world of new experiences out there that will make you grow in ways you can't imagine. Coming back here every summer is comfortable and easy, but like I said, I can't be here without having a foot in the past. I was wrong that first night when I was worried that Westlock would feel differently than I remembered, but I also wasn't. It doesn't feel different, but I look at it differently now because I've gone out and I've seen more of the world. When I was 11 years old, my world was small. Traveling anywhere felt like a big step to me. The first year that I came here, there were these older kids there that were in their late teens or early 20s, and they just seemed so old and mature to me. It is unbelievable to imagine that I am now as old, if not older, than they were when I met them. Eventually, they all stopped coming to these youth retreats, and I'm starting to understand why. This year, it started to dawn on me that while Westlock was an incredible place to grow up, it might be time for a different batch of kids to grow up here. There was a moment on the last day of retreat that really hammered this home for me. We always have a bonfire to end the retreat, and I was sitting on one side of the bonfire surrounded by my friends, and just across from me was this bench of 14, 15, or 16-year-old kids. Watching them felt like I was watching a movie of myself from 7 or 8 years ago. These experiences that I had growing up, experiencing my first teenage puppy love, becoming super close with kids I'd only met a few days prior, or just being loud and obnoxious, were continuing to unfold right in front of my eyes, but I wasn't a part of it. As much as Westlock is my home, it isn't only mine. For the longest time, I honestly felt like Westlock revolved around me and my friends. I knew everyone in every part of this place like the back of my hand. But looking across that bonfire, I knew that there were going to be countless stories of love, laughter, friendship, heartache, and sad goodbyes that I will never know or be a part of. Once I got past the selfish part of me that wanted Westlock to be mine and only mine, I genuinely began hoping that these kids eventually come to think that Westlock is theirs too. Because I want Westlock to continue to be a home that lets kids grow up carefree, surrounded by people they love, and in a setting that's brimming with beauty. I know that it isn't a certain fact that I will be back next year or the year after that for the summer youth retreat. The last 3 years have definitely taught me that. That being said, even if I can't make it back for the summer retreat, there's too many people I love here to never come back. And as I get older, I'm exploring more and more of the parts around Westlock, Calgary, Edmonton, Jasper, and Banff. And more things to love keep revealing themselves to me. I'm as sure as ever that I will find my way back here, but it will never be the same as when I was 13 or 14 and spent weeks on this little plot of rural Alberta farmland with some of my best friends. Still, I know no matter where I'm at or what I'm doing, my heart will ache for the next time I take that first breath of fresh Westlock air and think to myself, I have arrived, I am home.